Welcome back to Blow Up the Team. I'm Matt, and once again we're doing some preseason grades for this time the Miami Marlins. So let's talk about the Marlins. Um, it's been a rough lot of years to be a Marlins fan. Um, it's been a constant state of like kind of going between half decent and bad. In the last, since you guys rebranded in Miami, you haven't been above 500. Since you were rebranded from Florida to Miami, you haven't been above 500. Your last above 500 season was 2009. You had, I think it was 2014 when you were looking like a threat, and then Giancarlo Stanton got like almost ended his career getting hit by Mike Fiers right into the face, and he came close again in 2016. And then honestly, I think without the death of Jose Fernandez and like you guys had so many great players like Christian Yelich and Giancarlo Stanton. If they had just meshed better at Miami, maybe something could have happened. I mean, you guys are in like a prime place where like like when you think about places that are should be good hitters parks, it's like, oh, it's a hot summery location. Well, the problem is your stadium's at sea level, so it's very very questionable for hitting, and it's a big stadium. It's deep. We'll say though, props on getting rid of the hard orange and neon green. God, I despise. I couldn't stand it. Like now when I get drafted in the show by the Marlins, I'll actually play for them. But yeah, it's been rough. Last year you guys went 57 and 105, and barring a couple breakout pitching performances and one or two, and like a couple guys who just were able to look pretty positive overall. Not too much going on there. Um, so, so, so yeah, let's just get right into it. Um, Lineup. Your well, not your biggest. You had three pretty decent off-season pickups. Your one up top is going to be your most. I expect the most out of after the year he had last year, Jonathan VR. He performed really well on a really bad Orioles team, and he hit 274, 24 home runs, 40 stolen bases. Really good on defense. Pretty healthy, and he's on a 1 year deal, and he's on, so he's on a get me a trade deal, and so you're hoping to get prospects out of him. And but overall, while you have him, should be a pretty big threat with the bat. Doesn't walk a whole bunch, but he really can hurt a pitcher. And if you can get a guy to hit any amount of power in that park you play in, that'll be really huge for you guys. And that's one thing you just like overall the Marlins lack is that true power hitter for this lineup. But we can talk about that some other time. Yeah, Brian Anderson, who was actually at a pretty, people started to notice him a bit more. He had a couple really big hot streaks. So between the last 2 years, people, he's hitting in the 260s, 270s, and getting some pretty decent power numbers too. Getting 20 home runs and you know, uh, some decent numbers overall. And so, and he's also young-ish. He's 27. He's not young-ish. He's young, and you have 4 more years of contract control. So that's an interesting piece for you guys. Where if you guys think you can win in the next, or start to win in the next few years, could be a future guy for you. Um, but overall, solid player. Not much. He's still developing into the majors, and I expect this season he'll either show himself to be consistent, or it'll be him continuing to grow his stats and grow his you know repertoire as a ball player. Up next is your biggest addition, which actually I was so shocked when you signed him, Corey Dickerson. He was one of the better free agents out there. Not the best free agent outfielder. That'd be Yasiel Puig. I'm sure he can't wait for the end of today because we're recording it. It's at 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday, when transactions are unfrozen and he can finally sign with the team. But he was one of the better ones. And actually, I was kind of hoping the Yankees would get him because the Yankees need that left-handed power hitter, or like just another left-handed hitter with some power. He's very, very consistent. You got him for 2 years, good deal for the club, a couple million a year for a guy that's going to be consistent. He hits in between 270, anywhere from you know in the 280s to the last 2 seasons where he hit hit at 300 and then just over 300. Last year was in limited time because he was injured for a bit of the year. But overall, expect good numbers, consistent, good outfielder. There is, he's got a lot of things that are really attractive in an outfielder. Pretty solid bat, good defensive metrics. Does his eye is pretty rough. 5 strikeouts every walk, but everything else he projects out really well. And obviously they could end up deciding to trade him because it's only 2 year. It's only a 2 year deal. It's not like it's a huge contract, but if you sign him for 2 years, you're probably expecting him to stick around, and maybe they want him to be able to teach the younger guys on the club. Now that he is definitely a veteran at this point, he's 31 and he's played his 7 years in the leagues, in the majors. So going next, your other big signing, your other free agent signing, I'll say, Jesus Aguilar. Jesus Aguilar had a monstrous 2018, real breakout after not doing too much. Yeah, he hit 35 home runs and 108 RBIs for the Brewers. It was one of the better first basemen in the league. 2019, he struggled mightily and actually ended up being DFA'd and being traded to the Rays. A guy who just hit 35 home runs with 100 RBIs and didn't do too hot. 236 average, 12 home runs, hit the RBIs. This is definitely a prove yourself type contract. Hopefully he can prove, hey, I'm better than this. And I actually didn't sign it to 1 year, but anyway, you got him for the rest of his rookie contract. But another guy you're hoping to be able to move, or come into his own, and maybe you can get him to stay for a couple years. He's only 30, and if he can prove that he can, that 2018 wasn't a fluke, he can be a much needed power bat, which is why I think it was really smart to go after him. I mean, there's also no risk in taking him. Um, he was cheap, and if he performs well, you have that power bat you're so sorely needing. And he's already going to be your power bat, but he's not like that power bat. But he is overall going to fill a need for this team. Next up, you got Garrett Cooper, another guy who had a really great season last year. Last year was definitely his breakout season. He only had limited action in 2017 and 2018. This past year, he played over 107 games. He hit 281 with 15 home runs. Solid player. Definitely not going to say make sweeping claims about his game because he's going only to his sophomore season. I don't want to make claims about a guy who's just had his breakout year. So, obviously you want to see similar numbers out of him. You want to see him develop consistency. Obviously some pushback he's expected now that he's been up in the league and he's going to get a full season. This will be his first real full season. But definitely expect him to become sort of a mainstay in the lineup. And you've got, he's only had one full year, so he should have, if I'm doing my math, it should be 5 or 6 years left. I'm not sure how the first 2 seasons of 13 and 14 games pan out for service time, but it should be 5 or 6 years. I'm going to say 5 in minimum that you have to develop this guy. And if he keeps performing like this, it's a great guy to have. Behind the plate, you got Jorge Alfaro. He had a pretty okay year last year, one of the better hitting catchers in the league. 262 average, 18 home runs. Really, really, does not have a whole lot of walking in his approach. But overall, solid guy, solid player, and he's able to also take some reps at first base, and so he'll play in a lot more games than an average catcher does. You playing every couple days and then getting a day of rest, then 2 days and day of rest. So that's pretty important. You got Matt Joyce, who's projected to be your DH because there's no pitcher hitting this season. So he's a veteran at the league in the league. He's had a very good season last year. In 129 games, hitting 295. Only 200 at bats, so he's mostly a pinch hitter. But overall, he could very well end up being your DH and a consistent player. You also have people on your bench like Francisco Cervelli and Matt Kemp, who will probably get some rotations at spots at DH. You got Isan Diaz. He's a pretty big prospect for you guys. A pretty decent prospect. And he came up and his first major league game hitting a home run off of Jacob deGrom. It's pretty huge. He actually had a really awesome clip with his father freaking out when he came up because they were talking to him and it happened while they were interviewing him. After that, it wasn't so smooth sailing. He ended up finishing the season with only a 173 average. Definitely, that's the advantage of playing on a team like Miami is that if you have that bad of a season, ending up you get that chance to. It's not your only chance. You will be the starter. Expect better things out of him. So hopefully he can show that promise that he has because in his first spring training action he was also only 3 for 20. So hopefully you get more out of him, and because that'd be pretty huge. And you shortstop, you have Miguel Rojas, pretty solid bat. Like for today's game, hitting in the 280s with not a lot of power, very much a shortstop type bat. When you think about shortstops, they're not the known for their hitting. Pretty decent makeup, not much to really be said about him. Fairly decent player, not gonna be the most important person in this lineup. So we're gonna move into the starters now. But yeah, just to take an overall run on the lineup. Really need to see more power out of it. They have, I think, one of the worst power bat hitting squads in the league, if not the worst. So definitely need to see some improvements there. Anyway, going back into the starters, your number one projected starter, Caleb Smith. He had a breakout through the first half of last year, and then he got injured, and then struggled a lot after coming back. So definitely, hopefully now he could stay healthy, and you'll see a progression from last year, or so continuing some sort of trend. Because the Miami needs an ace, obviously, but just getting a guy who can be solid every 5 days out of the rotation is huge for a team that's in this position. So definitely the pitcher to watch out for in this lineup. Got Sandy Alcantara, who had a pretty good year last year. He was 6-14, but a 3.80 ERA through 197 innings, and he's got a really hard sinker at 95. So his walks are a bit heavy, which is definitely something to watch out for. But he really showed a lot last season, and so he's probably, I'd say, the most promising starting pitcher that you guys have. And he's young. He's only 24, so definitely want to watch out for. Next, we'll talk about Jose Urena. Anyway, regardless, the most famous thing this guy's known for so far, and if he pitches like last year, is going to be being the dickhead who pegged Ronnie Acuna Jr. at his first pitch of a start for no reason, because Acuna's been hitting too many home runs, and then Acuna got injured during his Rookie of the Year season. So yeah, 2017 and 2018, pretty okay numbers, 382, 398. Throws really hard. And then he hasn't really found his form since then. Really, really struggled in 2019. Only 84 innings pitched in 24 games. get moved to the bullpen because he's performing that poorly. 5.21 ERA, 1.48 WHIP. The WHIP is really concerning. Going from a 1.18 WHIP to 1.48 WHIP, that's a big yikes to see. He's only 28, so obviously he can improve. But overall, not looking too hot here. Already in number 3. Pablo Lopez is projected to be your 4th starter. Had a pretty rough time last year. 111 innings pitched, a 5.09 ERA, and not too crazy hot stats. Like I said, the most important thing that Miami's looking for out of any of these guys is someone who can be consistent. So hopefully he can show some consistency and perform better. If he performs better than those numbers, it'll be worth it for the Marlins. And then last up, Jordan Yamamoto. He started off on an insane couple starts, going undefeated and dominated the Cardinals. I think it was in his first. I remember I watched his first start. I think it was against the Cardinals. But he looked really good. Struggled in his later starts, finishing the 4.46 ERA. But overall, he showed some prowess. This year is going to be about figuring it out some more, putting more things together. And another really important thing, he's only 24. He's very young, and so hopefully he can develop more and put himself into that, what he showed as being last season. So there is promise in your starters, but overall, in a rotation like this, you're just looking for someone to be consistent. Going next to the bullpen, it's a train wreck. You picked up Brandon Kinsler and Ryan Stanek. Brandon Kinsler is a pretty overall okay pitcher. He had a really good season last year for the Cubs. So maybe he does if he performs to that again this year, you got yourself a pretty solid guy to close out games. But really, this bullpen's just lacking in everything. Guys who will be good at eating up innings, guys who can throw lockdown innings. It's not looking so hot. So I'm trying to So Ryan Stanek, he's shown he had an insane 2018, okay 2019, and so it's another guy you're hoping to see. You're taking a lot of guys who have had some success to some degree, but really overall it's not a whole bunch to write home about. It's a lot of guys who are hoping to find a place in the league for a season. So yeah, it's definitely the biggest weakness of this team. You got Pat Venditti. He's fun. He's pitches with both hands, but yeah, he's never really stuck around. He's definitely the guy who bounces a lot between minors and majors, and he is 35. So maybe finally he'll be able to stick around on a team for the full season. Got Stephen Tarpley from the Yankees. We showed flashes last season. The Yankees had this problem last season where they just let guys sit out for too long. Luckily, Tarpley was not good for a lot of his for a decent number of relief appearances. But then there's some relief appearances where they just left him out there, despite the fact that there was really, no, even though he looked shaky, and it was always one good inning, and then they just wanted length out of someone, so they just kept throwing him out there. Kind of similar deal with Nestor Cortez Jr. And there's always someone in every bullpen like that, so hopefully it's a little bit of a better treatment here. But really, that's all I have to say about the bullpen. It's a lot of guys just looking to hopefully stick around. It's definitely not a good bullpen. It's rough. It'll blow a lot of games. It will, hopefully Brandon Kinsler, does something with is able to perform to that level he did last year. Not does something. He was very good last year, and he signed a 2-year contract. So I don't think he's a guy you're looking to trade minimum this season. Though he is a reliever heading into his age 35 season, so maybe you have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, that's really all there is to say about that. You got a couple of really interesting prospects. You got the Victor Mesa and Sixto Sanchez and JJ Bleday, Jazz Chisholm, like lots of really good prospects. So you're really just waiting on them to come up and really inject some fire into this lineup. So gotta wait and see, obviously, but definitely gonna be a rough season. So moving into the focuses, um, focusing on guys who are you're hoping to trade. Jesus Aguilar, Jonathan VR, guy that really, you know, for what he did last season, I was expecting to see him sign a multi-year deal, but I guess he didn't really get either didn't get them or didn't get one he liked. So he's a guy who's looking to perform well, get traded if possible, or just do well enough that he can get a better deal this coming off season. I have no idea how the trade deadline's going to work with this shortened season, but hopefully perform. Either way, hopefully get prospects for him. Going next, he's Aguilar. Um, Once again, probably a trade target, but if he develops and decide to want to keep him, maybe he can be that power bat you guys need. As I mentioned, your guys suck with power, so you need that guy who can get the long ball to drive everyone in.
Didn't he have a
So
good, like a kind of a breakout season last year or 2 years ago? Because I
no, it
remember
was
I had him in
2018.
fantasy and he
No,
had
yeah,
a.
it was 2018. 2018, he had 35 home runs and had over 100 RBIs. I think it was 100 RBIs. And then he struggled so much in 2019 that the Brewers DFA'd him and traded him, and then the Rays DFA'd him after the season.
Because I remember I had him in fantasy and he like kind of low key put the team on his back for a few weeks there.
No, yeah, he was really good. And so
I had
that's what I'm
him and
saying is like,
Yelich. It was a pretty
well, yeah,
solid.
definitely a little OD.
A little bit.
Um, so yeah, that's the guy you're hoping can become that next power hitter. No one's gonna replace Giancarlo Stanton, obviously, but you need someone who can hit the long ball, and he's
I
someone who
mean, if they
can
could stay
until.
healthy, they can replace him, man. He's only playing about 20 games a season in a 162 game season.
I mean, he played 160 games in his first season with the Yankees. He got injured a bit last season.
You gotta stay on the
Everyone who
field, man.
complains about him is overreacting.
Gotta stay on the field. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, he's been on the team for 2 seasons, and anyone who complains about it after 2 seasons, if it happens again this season, then it's something to complain about. But I'm sorry, everyone was bitching last year, didn't realize just how much he did in 2018. It was so like he was playing on a hamstring that like definitely needed to rest, and then sure enough, he had problems with it after he went down. So of course, it was like it was 100% going to happen after how much he did in 2018. It wasn't like he was just DHing in 2018. He was playing a lot more outfield than he was expected to because on a bad leg. So I don't want to hear about Giancarlo Stanton. If he gets injured this season and he keeps getting injured, that's a different thing. But anyway, um, yeah, that's all I have to say about Jesus Aguilar. So it could be a good trade target, but overall looking for him to develop and be that guy that he was in 2018. Caleb Smith, he showed ace-like stuff. You know, I and then he showed really bad stuff. So you want to see that ace side out of Caleb Smith again. See one guy who really turned into something huge for you out of that Giancarlo Stanton trade. Actually, he wasn't even in the Giancarlo Stanton trade. Now I'm thinking about it. It was a totally separate trade. We got Mike King. Uh, for him. But you're hoping to get something. You're hoping that he develops that skill that he showed in the first half of last year, and then can put it together for a full season. Because the Marlins desperately need an ace. I think it's between him and Sandy Alcantara, who can be that guy. Going next, Drew Yamamoto, young and showed some prowess on the mound. Obviously his numbers don't jump out at you, but he held some very good offenses to only a couple runs or 0 runs in his first few starts. So hopefully he develops that, and if he's younger than it's him and Santiago that are the young guys on your rotation. I definitely want to watch out for, and if he can develop that and become a good, solid young pitcher for Miami, definitely a guy who can find himself a probably long-term home there. Like obviously you got him for your rookie contract, but what I mean is like a guy who can end up being someone you extend. But that's a lot to put on a guy who's only in his sophomore year of playing baseball. So going into grades, lineup C+. Good players, but the problem is no power. You have one guy who can hit decent power, but like when I'm looking at power hitter, do I want my best power hitter to be hitting 24 home runs projected, or like something like that? I'm trying to think about what it would scale to for this 60 game season. But regardless, I'm talking about it like it's a 162 game season because that's just what's ingrained in my mind. But regardless, those that's not really what you want out of power hitters. So going next to the bullpen, it's a dumpster fire with the exception of Brandon Kinsler. It's a D. Because of Brandon Kinsler and the fact that I liked him on the Cubs, I will not.
He's put the team on his back to get them to D. They were headed for an F until you decided you liked the one guy. Is essentially what I'm taking away from this.
No, yeah, basically, it would have been enough if it wasn't for having Brandon Kinsler. 100% would have been enough. But anyway, uh, rotation. I'll give it a C. I'm leaning towards C minus, but I think I'll stick with the C. You got guys who it's not going to be a good rotation, but you have like a lot of potential in that rotation. I think to get some solid guys like Caleb Smith showed a lot despite his final record, and Sandy Alcantara showed a lot, and Jordan Yamamoto showed a lot. So you got guys who've shown a lot. They just need to get them to put it together for a full season. So, and Miami, they don't win when they're supposed to. So, for all I know, this team can end up coming out of the gates ridiculously hot. Everyone pitches like A's, and they go and win the World Series because that's how the Marlins always win the World Series. It's never intentional. So,
Does that mean
anyway,
that you just listed them as your underdog for the season?
no, 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 absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
That's what I heard. I don't know. Marlins fans, he just said it. You could go out and win the World Series this year. Get
No,
your hopes up. Get your hopes high.
anyone can win the World Series this year because it's only 60 games. The fucking Mariners got off to a 13-2 start, I think it was last season, and then they finished the worst team in the AL West. So
Sounds similar to the Mets, isn't it?
the Mets were pretty good last season.
Yeah, I swear they started off insanely hot, isn't it? Or am I tripping?
That was 2018. 2018, they
2018?
started off like 11-1, and then they started losing games, and then they couldn't stop losing games because Mickey Callaway is incompetent.
Oof.
So yeah, but they fired him, so it's okay. They have a even better squad this year, so they'll actually be pretty good. Anyway, go. Yeah, they are not my underdog, unexpected team to
I
weasel
heard
their
I
way.
heard rising stars destined for World Series this year. If they don't get a
No,
ring
that
in
is
3 years, it's
not
a
what I
bust. That's
said
what I heard.
at
That's what
all.
I heard. That's what I heard.
No, yeah, because you. I don't even know how you hear that. I have no idea how you hear that.
I'm
You
sorry.
go check.
One of the kids I used to know in high school, he's a big Dolphins Marlins fan, and I just
Uh,
he had to become a Mets fan because that's a better option. Rest in
gross.
peace.
Well, actually, I will like because just listen to these numbers. Like so, 1996, the Marlins were 80 and 82. 1997, they go 92 and 70 and win the World Series against the Indians in 7 games. The year after that, they go 54 and 108, and then not above 500 again until 2003 when they go 91 and 71 and beat the Yankees in the World Series in 6 games.
Yankees should be ashamed. Hang our heads in defeat.
Yeah.
Lost to the
So,
Marlins, bro. Ew.
I mean, listen, that's Miguel Cabrera's only World Series, so in hindsight, at least he got one.
That Tigers team that he was on that didn't win was dirty. Verlander, Scherzer, Cabrera.
Yeah, it's like
Anyways,
that, I think
anyways.
actually, literally, that whole rotation has won World Series with different teams.
They just couldn't put it together, man. Couldn't put it
No,
together.
they couldn't. It's like the fucking Marlins. They had, Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna. Like that's they had. I mean, not that D Gordon's really that insane, but D Gordon. They had uh, a lot of guys on that team who just are having monstrous years in other teams. Maybe the Marlins Stadium is just cursed.
Could
I don't
be.
know.
Could be. Anyways,
Anyway, moving on. We spent more time on this than I have talking with the team. So go drop a like, comment, subscribe. If you comment anything about me saying that this team is my dark horse underdog, I am liable to delete comments.
I am liable to delete comments. Wow. Wow.
Yep,
Wow.
I will not stand for these lies. But however, if the Marlins do end up doing that, I will 100% say that, I knew it all along. Anyway, because Jeremy's giving me that chance now.
But no, 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 no,
So
no, 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 no. You've got to decide one way or another right here,
no,
right
they are
now.
not. They are not. Actually, let me
Okay.
go look at the. Let me go look at the league as a whole,
We're not
MLB.
gonna allow you to play both sides. No, they don't have a chance. No, no way they win it. I called it. I called it. Go back and look. I called it, and I'll be like, all right, bro. Like, fuck.
I honestly don't even know who my you know dark horse would be. There's like I feel like this season is.
The
I
New
honestly
York
God, I have no
Mets. They're
idea.
gonna win it all this season. This is the year that they turn
And
it
the New York
around.
Mets, I think, have a chance to win the NL East. Like they're gonna be pretty good.
I can't. I have no respect for the Mets, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Anyway, like I said, drop a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button so you can get notified whenever we post again. And which will be Monday. But also go check out our social media, Instagram, Twitter. Check out our Discord, maybe.
Maybe check out our Discord.
I mean, listen, I'd appreciate it. It's kind of sad
We're a
just
lot more
looking at.
active in the Discord than we are on our Instagram or our Twitter. I'll tell you that.
Well, yes, if we had people to talk to, we'd be much more active in the non-channel planning talk sections.
Has there ever been a post made in any of the other sections that's not just channel planning or mod only? I don't
Let's
think
see.
so.
Nope. Okay, well, you posted "Be respectful" in rules.
That was about it. Yep.
Uh, yeah, there's literally nothing.
The Yogbot
Yeah,
has posted in announcements.
announcements. Wow, awesome.
Ah, yeah. Alright. Yeah. We need to get this Discord popping.
Anyway, so yeah, just thank you for watching. And where do we go next?
Next week, Minnesota, Vikings and Twins, and then
Nice.
New England, Patriots and Red Sox. And
Ew.
then we end off Friday with the New Orleans Saints. Wow, that's
I,
three
I,
good
I I'm.
football teams and two pretty solid baseball teams.
I don't want to talk about the. God, I'm trying to. I'm going to do my best to be impartial towards the Red Sox. Going to do my best.
I'm excited for next week now. I didn't know which teams were coming. Like obviously when we planned it out, like I wasn't looking like, oh, that's what we're doing this week. That's what we got three good football teams next week. The Patriots are in an interesting spot. The Vikings are always kind of hovering around, and then we know what's going on down in New Orleans.
Love me
And
some Drew Brees.
make sure to come check that out next week. Thanks for watching. And do you have any closing comments?
Not really.
You're not gonna change your mind on the Marlins to
No,
World Series?
absolutely not.
Okay. Well, with that being said, we will see you next time. Peace.